Hey everybody, the Lumberjack Landlord here on the road, but I couldn't miss a live with you guys. I missed a boot camp this Saturday because, oh my heavens, I think we were 9 hours, no, 11 hours. We were 11 hours, almost 12 hours in, and I had to get the kids food and the whole 9 yards, and on our way to see family. And oh my goodness, it's been quite a ride. But excited to be with you guys tonight. And you will see that you won't necessarily see everybody's comments in here because StreamYard has this new feature where it lets you run landscape like normal video, but also elongated. So don't let it trip you up. You might see me answering questions that you haven't come across because there's actually two streams. But this way you can get into the stream that you feel the most comfortable with. Sometimes it's this view and sometimes it's this view. I know on the phone when I've seen some of these and I've actually seen it like standing up like this way, it's been awesome. So yeah, anyway, for what it's worth. But super good to see you guys. Hope you're all doing really well. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I'm trying not to shout. I can't be nearly as animated being on the road because we're in an Airbnb. Yep, two streams again. Yep. Yeah, that's the way that it's set up. And that way people can watch it vertically on their phone or horizontally. Landscaping looks more high quality. Great to stream on my TV. Perfect. Fantastic. That's the way we're going then. Angel Ray. Yeah, so that's that. But wanted to share some stories with you this week because I know a lot of times we talk about the good, we talk about the bad, but wanted to just be very real and transparent with you and talk about some more recent, uh, just like potential tenant stories, kind of what we're seeing. Thankfully we have the strategy that we have when it comes to renting out units. And in all honesty, that's very important for obvious reasons. We want to rent out units quickly. So we had some units come available from eviction. And obviously that was the point, right? Get them evicted because they weren't paying. So we got those evictions, we get them through the system, we get them through the court system. And sadly, if you guys watched last week's, one of those tenants actually over the last couple of weeks, he actually passed away. And so that was honestly that was difficult. It was difficult to just kind of process that because you look at it and you say, well, the reason that we do this is to help those that need it. At the same time too, we can't let them abuse the system and not pay anything, or most importantly, make no effort. Like, you can't make no effort. And that's one of the cool things I like so much about our community. Here, I'm going to turn my head around just so I can keep the shadow off my eyes. But yeah, can you see pure exhaustion traveling with children? But what was really cool, just kind of about just generally speaking about the eviction process, is it still works. It still gave him many, many, many bites at the apple. He had, and during that process, he'd filed 3 motions in the court against me, and all of them were denied. And so, for obvious reasons, because again, one of the things that we teach in the course is how to run a clean eviction, because it really is important how you manage your evictions. You're going to end up in court someday. You best be prepared to, when you're in court, that you're ready to go and ready to make it happen. So yeah. So all that being said, basically, they'd gotten so many bites at the apple. And that was really, hey, thanks, BuzzTune. I appreciate that. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. So often, we fight harder for our tenants than they fight for themselves. And so often they want to make it about something stupid while we're making it about something bigger picture. And there's a reason why they're in the position that they're in. They're in the position that they're in, landlords don't evict tenants, tenants evict themselves. Yeah, largely speaking. I think the biggest challenge that, again, that we have is that we help out a ton of tenants. Sometimes like when they notify us and say, hey, like something happened with, obviously the government workers. We didn't expect that they were going to be on time. We knew that they would likely be late. And so the key was just reaching out to each of them saying, hey, just so you know, we completely understand. We know that it's shut down. and we're not expecting that you're going to be able to pay right away. We'd love it if you could pay as much as you can possibly pay so you don't get behind. But that being said, largely speaking, rents basically due. But we made sure we weren't reaching that out after the first month. You got to be able to pay your first month. But the second month, and the fact it was might have been going into December, we did have the conversation with them because we wanted to make sure that they enjoyed their holidays. We wanted to make sure that they enjoyed their Thanksgiving season and not have it weighing down on their minds and being one of those things that keeps them up at night. We don't want that to happen. But it is still really their responsibility to make sure that they paid their rent. So while everybody appreciated it, they all made effort. They all let us know. They were really good overall, generally speaking. And so, now everybody's getting caught up and taken care of. And so everything is all good. So we have those great stories, but very largely and very, very often, those are people of honor. Those are people of character, certainly if they're armed services. But the stink of it is that we've had, we had, this is not a tenant story. This is a potential tenant story. So we had a tenant apply, and they were very aggressive in how they applied. They applied on the website. They applied to the broker. They applied to her Facebook page, and they kept on basically hammering the hell out of this and hey, I need a place urgently. So think about to when you were dating and think about when somebody was super, super, super urgent about making sure they got a date with you and really aggressive about that. It's kind of like, dude, what's wrong with you? You might have issues. We know I have issues, but so this tenant kept on harassing and just coming out. Well, come to find out she has a voucher, and we treat voucher tenants the same way that we treat market tenants. Because quite frankly, from our perspective, we don't care who's paying. It doesn't matter to us. What we do care about is the other things. We do care about things like credit score. We do care about things like your responsibility of rent and where you paying it on time. Very often, it's something that we don't see. And even if it's something where it's we had tenants that were $3,500 a month in rent, and their responsibility was $350, and they were having trouble coming up with $350. I mean, let's be fair. That's kind of lousy. So this person kept blowing up all the lines, all this stuff happening. And so we're pretty well knit into our community. And so I have people in all parts of the community. And I'm just like, hey, do you know this name? Hey, do you know this name? Hey, do you know this name? And one person goes, oh my word, I do know that name. And I was like, okay, what do you know about what do you know about this person's name? Come to find out, it was somebody that they had known. They knew that they had been in 3 different places in the last 2 years. And that every single time there was talk about threat of a lawsuit. Every single time. Now, I trust this person. That's why they're in my inner circle. That's why there's somebody that I have conversations with and discuss these things with. So I found what was really interesting was, this is why I say your network is your net worth. On paper, she actually wasn't a horrible tenant, but in practice, she was a horrible tenant. And so we know that there's one part of it that she won't qualify for. We know factually that there's a part of it where she won't qualify for. So in just holding her to the same standard that we hold everybody else to, we knew that she would fail. And she doesn't get special treatment. Although in some cases, people would consider potentially acquiescing based on a minor point here, a minor point there. But what's really interesting is that everybody says that landlords suck. And while there are a number of them that suck, I can promise you there are far more tenants that absolutely suck. And they have no problem sucking the life out of you. We have one person that I've told on numerous occasions, hey, on Sunday mornings, I go to church with my family. And so I'm not going to answer the phone. It's not going to happen. Not happening. You can leave a message. It will go to maintenance, and maintenance will take care of it. She got my phone number one time. She doesn't call the maintenance line. And every single Sunday, she calls to bother us during church time. Every single Sunday. Or she did for a long time. Until basically, I said to her, if you do that one more time, every single time you call me, it's not an emergency. It was never an emergency at any time. One of the times, like a gutter had, like a part of gutter had broken off. Okay. Another time it was she'd broken one of her cabinet doors. Another time it was she'd broken one of her cabinet handles. Another time was she clogged one of her three sinks. She has three sinks. She has a kitchen sink and two bathroom sinks. She clogged one of them. So it was never like this dire emergency issue. She just wanted what she wanted, and she wanted it taken care of. And if I didn't like that, tough shit. Hey, I mean, that's fine, but just know that you're the boy that cried wolf. Like, we're not going to take your stuff seriously. Like, there's no reason. She knew and again, it's not like you don't have to have this like massive consideration for me, but if you want me to handle things in a timely manner, like, it's just one of those crazy things that I just absolutely hate the way some tenants act. And the sad part is that more often than not, they are of the Section 8 persuasion. Just facts. I'll show you the logs. I'm not giving you feelings. I'm giving you factually speaking. We have somebody that actually is losing their house. They have a voucher. They're losing the house that they're living in. They have all these requirements. It has to be downtown in this town. It has to be walking distance to this workplace because the guy doesn't drive. It has to be this. It has to be that. It has to be this. It has to be that. So we say, okay, great. We've got the perfect one for you. We literally the perfect one. And they see it and they're just like, do you have any other options? Do I have any other options? No, not for you. Not for you at all. Not for you at all. I don't have any other options for you. And so these are the types of things. And so she's like, yeah, I'm just not sure that that's going to work. Hey, dude, you're going to lose your voucher. Pardon my language, but smarten the fuck up. You're going to lose your voucher. You're going to lose your voucher literally in less than 30 days if you don't find a place to live that hits all of your criteria, but at the same time, too, hits Section 8's pricing. I've got bad news. You're not going to qualify for the Taj Mahal because where you want to live is a downtown area that's actually pretty expensive. I've got one of the cheapest units on the market that's not a disgusting, like rat infested mess. Like it's a decent unit. And then the other thing too is they want an exception. They want their non-spouse. Gee, I wonder why they're not married. I wonder. Do you think that they're maybe trying to keep his income off of their household income? Very interesting. See, they have no problem when they create fraud and when they commit fraud and when they lie. One of the things I've learned, they lie constantly. Why? Because their lying is constantly rewarded. It's absolutely crazy. But anyway, I wanted to open it up because I know that you guys are going to have some of your own horror stories to share, and I'm happy to share them here so you guys can recognize that, yeah, it's kind of a lonely game. Um, but at the same time, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Like, it's afforded me to go on this nice, 12-day vacation, sort of vacation, but 12-day vacation with bringing my wife and my kids and going and visiting a bunch of her family that's older. That we wanted to take that opportunity to jump in the new van and head down. So, but yeah, let's get into it. Let's jump through and do some of your stuff. I'm also trying to be quiet too because the house isn't as I don't have a studio to scream out of. So yeah. So let's jump in. Wayne Wong, good to see you, sir. Jason Calispetta, good evening. Angel Ray, good to see you. Hyder, good to see you, my friend. Buzzton, Mikey, good to see you. Laura, how's it going, Laura? Good to have you. Sarah Vanning, good to see you, sir. Yep, 2 streams again. Yep. The landscape one looks more high quality, great to stream to my TV. It should be 4K. So I don't know who wants to see me that clearly, but there you go. You got it. Josic, hello everyone from chill, but still amazing, New Jersey. Victor Wolf, hey Lumberjack, how important is dry rot on the list of things to repair on a property, or how do you get rid of the problem indefinitely? So the way that you get rid of dry rot is at one time that got wet and now it's rotting because it's dry. And so it becomes very brittle in your hands. A lot of times you can take your hands, Sorry, I'll put my hands back here so you can see them. So a lot of times you can take the joist in your hands and you can go like this and you can put your fingers into it. That means it's pretty well rotted. Now that happens from pest infestation. It also happens from just regular old rot. What you want to make sure is that it's not in what's called the rim joist. The rim joist is the rim that goes around the bottom of the house that fits between your foundation and your and basically what they build your house on. And so that's where the wood starts, and usually it meets like this. So your rim joists sit on top of the foundation wall. Um, so that part of your house is usually where it can get moisture, and then it actually penetrates the wood, and then it becomes soft and brittle, and then you'll actually see sinking and settling, what they call settling. You'll see that sinking and settling in a house. And so it is an important thing. However, it's one of those things that depending on how bad it is, how bad that how bad the dry rot is, how bad and how much of that dry rot it is. Sorry, I just saw a bug. Hold on the screen. Got him. Ha ha ha. How is that for TV? But typically it matters how bad it's gotten. Now the good news is that you can usually jack up that section of the house and then cut out that part of the rim joist and then reattach it and do all of this work. That can be thousands of dollars, but usually it's 3 to 5 grand for somebody that kind of knows what they're doing. It's so long as it's not extensive. But we like to then put that, cut stuff in and then section it together, and then we'll also make it pressure treated wood, where a lot of times when these houses were built, they didn't have pressure treated wood. So is it a big deal? Yeah, it can be. Because that's what for me kind of falls into the foundational stuff. However, you can get a quote for it, and usually the quotes are pretty reasonable. You're usually, depending on the amount of damage that you have, usually it's 3, 5, maybe $6,000. So it's not the end of the world. But it's definitely something that you want to find out. Is there water coming off of a hill that's bumping up against that? Is that where there's a pile of snow left every season? Start to understand why that occurred, and it could be like in my area. There's stuff that there's a wormwood where worms just got into it and ate the wood, and they leave these little tracks. Termites too, but termites aren't nearly as big here as they are in Florida. But a lot of times you can eradicate it. Maybe the house was tented, a bunch of different things, and you might find sections. Like I've literally had houses where we found like 4 or 5 joists were just completely eaten. And so what we did was we jacked up the house in certain areas, and then we actually reran new joists across, landed them in the rim joist, and landed them in connection with the with either the other joist or on some sort of support beam, and we've replaced those. So it's not like I said, it can be a big deal, but it's not like when you find that like deal has to be done. It just has to be something that's accounted for from a cost perspective. Hopefully that helps you. On that header, I'm going to leave this running in the background. I'm at dinner with the fam for Mama's anniversary of birth. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. You don't even need to leave it running in the background, brother. Smoke that button like the thumbs up like Cheech and Chong. And guys, also see if the hearts button works, or I think you should be able to on your phones, like pick it up and then hit the button, and then it gives you a bunch of hearts. That also helps the algorithm, which we love because it helps us get more people in here to join the community. Tim Crawford, good evening, anyone. Good evening, sir. HOA Prez, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. Let me just double check this, see what this is. That's what I need to handle, thankfully. King 223 RT, hello, I'm subbing. Love to have you. Chris Culp, hi Matt, I have a major question since we missed boot camp. It's safe for public consumption. Let me know if I can ask you. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no worries. HOA Prez, landlords don't evict tenants, tenants evict themselves. That's very true. I'm liking. Thanks, King. Appreciate you. Troy Roberts, hey Matt, so I have a tenant that has a new boyfriend that decided to come in and create problems at my duplex. Has a dog that's not allowed, but says it's ESA, but does not have the paperwork docs. Well, tough shit. Get the paperwork docs, because otherwise, if it's in the lease, no pets, then start the eviction process and literally post the eviction process. But what I would do is I would work them concurrently. I would cite twice. I would cite once for the pet and I would cite twice for the noise complaints. Don't hesitate to solve. And then the third thing is, I don't know, and this is one of the things that's in the course. I don't know if you have it in your lease, but we actually limit the number of days that somebody can stay at any given place overnight. Um, Otherwise, they then have to sign and qualify to sign the lease. Otherwise, it's terms for eviction. So that's how that works. So that's what we manage to, and that's kind of what makes life a little bit easier, is because we manage to that, we don't get stuck with, ESAs. It's really easy paperwork to get off the web. So they're just lazy and stupid if they can't get you that. The noise, yeah, I cite that right away. And then the third thing is just a reminder, hey, per lease section, blah, blah, blah. Anybody spending more than this number of nights, and we don't even have consecutively. We have like 14 or 7 nights in a year. Yeah, we have 7 nights in a year. Yep. And then at that point, done. Also creating noise issue with the neighboring tenants. Yeah. Like I said, that's something that real quick I'm putting up 3 concurrent warnings. Yep. On such that way, again, you're always building your case for court, Your Honor. We don't know exactly when they moved in because we weren't asked. This is what when we started getting complaints, we assumed it was close by to that. We never agreed to have the tenant move in. We saw that the tenant had essentially was spending nights there, per the reports of other people in the area. And open and shut case if you got that stuff in your lease. Sorry to keep yawning on you guys. You aren't boring me. I'm not boring me either, but I'm exhausted. So tonight's probably not going to go very long. Chris Culp, how large of a risk for those of you who have been targeting high level blue collar and low level white collar tenants is the AI transitions? It's very high. Yeah, it's very high. White collar is far more at risk than blue collar. I mean, eventually more and more people are going to get replaced. But real service people, teachers are probably going to be one of the last things replaced. Like they'll augment, but they won't replace. But white collar, yeah, white collar's getting crushed. HR reps, crushed. Accounting people, crushed. Data analysts, crushed. Yeah, mark my words. Sold it for decades. Sold RPA, which is robotic process automation, and then I sold AI as to do with robotic process automation. Before that, I sold data warehouses and handling large data models, and then building data models and building object models, and yeah, I sold it for 26 years. Corporate America's in for a rude awakening. They just are in, and a lot of people in these jobs that think that they're safe. Oh, well, no one's going to want to do that. Yeah, here's the problem. You give an analyst, 50,000 lines to analyze, giving it the criteria. And I've got bad news. AI can do that in a millisecond, and it's going to take them days. Days. Yeah. Mm-mm. And let's just say I'm wrong. Let's say it doesn't take them days. Let's say that they use the AI to get them the answer. The answer still is going to happen within minutes, not days. And that means if you can do days worth of human work in minutes with a human doing it, with AI, then you don't need nearly as many humans. It's just that simple. It's math. Josh Burdick, good to see you, sir. Where do people get the audacity? Yeah, Angel, honestly, it's challenging. We do everything we can to stay out of our tenants' lives. We believe that they need a landlord, that they don't need another buddy. And so that's one of the challenges, is that we stay out of their way. And, if we're getting involved in a situation, it's probably not very good. If most tenants lost their job, low level white collar and high level blues, I would be majorly harmed. Oh, prepare to be majorly harmed. This is why we have diversification of our tenant pool. So we have retirees. Are they going to be harmed in AI? Nope. We have college kids. Are they going to be harmed in AI? Nope. There's still going to be kids going to college. Section 8. Nope. Vouchers for veterans? Nope. Regular market? Yep. Yep. Regular market. But if regular market is only 20% and 20% of people lose jobs, then that gives me 4% of my overall portfolio that now has a problem. See how you diversify within assets. That's how you do it. You're welcome. That's in the course. Corridor Chris, dang, that's sad and lonely. Yes, sir, it is. Who calls their landlord directly? Well, see, Angel Ray. We have we have it set up for them to call into a number and the whole 9 yards, but they decided to abuse having my phone number directly. So that's fine. Guess what happened? And here's exactly how I did it. I'm going to block your number. You can no longer reach me at this number. Block. That's it. Because they had other ways. They were just insistent that their issue be heard that second by the owner. I don't do that. That's like sitting in a restaurant and the waitress making a mistake, or the line cook making a mistake, or the hostess making a mistake, and then holding your breath until they produce the owner so you can bitch. Like, how self-absorbed and self-indulgent do you have to have your problem heard by the owner when the staff has done a completely fantastic job of maintaining it? Or even just talk to the manager, but you certainly don't need to talk to the owner. Jerk faces, right? Chris Cope, nothing wrong with playing defensive. Focus on asset protection this year. Yeah, absolutely. Angel, dead on. HOA Prez, you may have lower rents in 2026 to keep your vacancy rates down. So I already told people that rents were going to be going down. I already told people that. They will. They'll go down. But they haven't gone down across the board. And what I mean by that is we have some assets that have actually gotten an increase in prices. We have other assets that have gone down. It's okay. We go down until we find that we can get a significant number of people that are quality tenants applying. We don't want somebody that can fog a mirror. We want somebody that can, come in and stay. Let's see. Dominic Jones. Our first rental, they had chickens running around shit in the basement. Oh my goodness. Dominic, that's a story. That's crazy. Jason Santoro. Hey, bro, how are you? I'm good, man. Would you pay interest-only payments for as long as you could? The element of the debt structure that I care most about is that the payments are fixed. That's what I care the most about. So, or the rate and how that's done. So let me give you an example. If somebody came to me and said, I can lock you in for 4% forever. Okay, I like that. Or I can put you in at 5%, but in 3 years, the rate's going to reset. That's like it does in most commercial mortgages. But it's a chance it could go lower. I would say I'll stick with the 4%. If they came to me and said, how about 3% for 3 years? I would say, I'm going to stick with the 4% forever because I'm more conservative. Other people will say, you know what? I'll take 3% for the 3 years because I guarantee over that 3-year period, I'm going to find a way to refinance it, get the debt cheaper. Number one. Number two, maybe I'm going to sell the asset. So I would rather have a lower payment. But when it comes to interest only and essentially not paying principal down payment, it depends on what your strategy is. For a long-term strategy, we want to have long-term solutions. So for me, if you look at a 30-year mortgage, a lot of times I've done 15s, I've done 20s as far as year mortgages. And so what's cool about that approach and what it really gives me is flexibility. It gives me flexibility. I like having the fact that in the first 7 years, I only pay down about 10% of the mortgage. That's fine. But it happens automatically. What am I doing with that little bit extra scratch? That little bit extra scratch, honestly, is more income than I'm taxed on. So I'd kind of rather have a little bit higher of a payment so long as my other thresholds are being met, which is I got a 70% LTV in the building. And on top of the 70% LTV, I also am making at least 20% net on the unit. If I'm making 20% net on the unit and I have a 70% LTV, I'm more likely to play with the percentages and play with the debt numbers because my core criteria is I gotta have flexibility. And flexibility comes from a certain amount of loan to value ratio, a certain, loan to value being, 70% for me, having a certain amount of cash flow, but also what happens if rents do go down and if they go down 10%. The problem is when they go down 10%, that's not you're down 10%. That's you're down maybe all your profit per month. Maybe you're only making 10% of the unit and rents went down 10%. So interest only payments, you know what? I for me, I'm just more conservative. I would rather be paying down some principal along with that because I have enough cash flow where I would want that thing being paid down as opposed to a necessarily a smaller payment where it might create for me an extra 100, $200 a month, maybe. Mm. Depends on how big the difference is. But good question. HOA Pres, pay attention to property tax bills in 2026. Some houses in bad Chicago neighborhoods had a 100% increase. Oh, yeah, absolutely. See it all the time. Hey, landlord Rossi, what's up? Ernie on, good to see you, pal. Yeah, the thing to actually watch out for even more than the property increase is that you'll see plenty of property increases, but what you'll see in more or a higher percentage of increase around is your water sewer. Our water sewer bill used to be about 50 to 60,000 bucks a year, and now it's 30 to $40,000 a quarter. That's the one you want to watch out for more. Mick, good to see you. Dominic Jones, how would you deal with a cracked stucco wall in a basement to fix and repair? Oh, I mean, it depends. There's so many different options there. Like, why did it get cracked? Did it crack because of water intrusion? Are you now getting water there? Um, for me, it really depends on, I want to know more about it. I want to dig deeper. I want to know why it cracked, how it cracked. Is there like a special, fault, you know, like, uh, like a pivot line there, like where there's like a piece of rock that's jutting out. Like that's what there's more that I would want to know before I would determine how I would fix it. As far as how to fix and repair that or how to fix stucco wall, you can watch. There's a bunch of stuff out there. You can get stuff that's that you can blend pretty well. Um, but it depends on what kind of pattern you have in your stucco as well. But there's a bunch of videos out there on how to specifically repair stucco. Angel Ray, in today's rate environment, is it smart to risk? Is it smart or risky to use 50K from a HELOC on a paid off rental as a down payment on a cash flowing duplex? No, I don't think so. I don't think that that's. I mean, it's riskier than not, but we do have to have some level of risk if we're going to grow our businesses. So the thing that I would say is I would be taking the profit from that building and they'd be paying down that HELOC as quickly as possible. So if you're, whatever, 5, 6, $700 a month, like after you set up a reserve for it, after you set up your maintenance, after you set up your vacancy, after you have all those accounts set up, I would be taking whatever's left over and I would be putting it right down towards that 50K. That's what I would be doing. So I don't mind acquiring debt, but then I want to hammer it as much as I can, especially when it could be variable rate. Because what are the terms of the HELOC? Is it 7%? Is it prime plus 2? Is it Fed home loan rate plus 3? Depends on what the terms are. So it's just like anything else, right? So I always tell people, and this is a story that everybody understands. What if I walked up to you and offered you $5 to punch you square in the face? The answer almost unanimously is no. What if I offered $100,000 to come up and punch you square in the face? A majority of people are going to say yes. So that's where it comes in with the depends things, the sliding scale. What does that really look like? I have a 2-day, Troy, I do have a 10-day max in my lease, but how do you verify that? Reports of the tenants, you can have somebody take a picture of his car early in the morning. You can, there's a bunch of different ways to how do they prove that it's not happening? Let's put it that way. How do they prove it's not happening? Like when you can show the judge, Your Honor, like day, 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 Your Honor, you get the point. Like if they were there 3 days in the last week, of course they were there 10 days this month, and it's actually for 10 days for a year. Again, you got to remember the burden of proof is yours in the court of law when it comes to landlord tenant, but it's also just more likely than not. You have to tell the truth, but the judge is going to take your testimony. That's the key. HOA Press, we have lots of people in Silicon Valley that are about to get laid off. Absolutely. They are planning to move out of Silicon Valley. Absolutely. Once they get their severance check. Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally expected that to happen. It's almost like I've been saying that for a year. I knew it was coming. I retired from that world a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. I retired from that world. I saw it coming myself. Saw it coming. I talked to all my friends that are VPs. Every single one of them is laying people off. I talked to my friends that are reps, and they were reps that I met at President's Club, so they were the best of the best. They were the best in the world at what they did. And so I can tell you that they were really, not only were they really good at what they did, but they're like, yeah, people are just walking around here scared. I'm not. I was like, you scared? Nah, not scared. I was like, yeah, that sounds right. Because those guys didn't have to be. MPC, AI is cover for offshoring and firing because of recession. It's not only that, NPC. That's incorrect. I can tell you that it's certainly part of it is DAI. Yeah, and so I agree with that partially. Offshoring hasn't happening nearly as much as you think. There's not been this explosive growth in offshoring, just isn't. And I know because part of the businesses that I worked with was offshoring to India, to Romania, to Ireland. And I can tell you, they're not seeing massive explosive growth in offshoring. They aren't. The Philippines, they're not. It really truly is a combination of AI, DEI, and actual recession. Yep. How long before we see universal income? Oh, I hope never, but um, universal basic. I mean, the problem is that we're already accomplishing that just in a different way. When you see people on housing, I can tell you that most of them, that's not the only benefit they're getting. They're getting fuel assistance, they're getting food stamps, they're getting electrical assistance, they're getting yeah, I mean they're getting all sorts of different funding, welfare. They'll get a welfare check every once in a while if they get behind on their rent for a month. Yeah, it happens all the time. HOA Prez. Not only can AI do data analysis, it's starting to do pure math and theoretical physics. Oh, it's absolutely getting more and more advanced, and it's not like every day it gets 5% smarter. Every day it doubles in intelligence. It's getting movie like. You wait and see. Angel Ray, Matt, how do you deal with the disrespectful tenants such as the one you described? Yep. Do you usually let them go at lease renewal or keep them as long as they are paying rent? I got a soft heart. Learning. Yeah, Angel, exactly right. So here's literally what I do. I let them know that their behavior is unacceptable because clearly they maybe didn't have parents that actually showed them how to behave as adults. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they just chose to ignore it. But at the end of the day, Dion, if you're watching, take a good drink. At the end of the day, what my focus is to get them to play by the rules. I play by the rules. I just want them to play by the same rules. We have the rules in place. It's called a lease. We have an agreement of how this relationship is supposed to be carried out. If you choose not to play by those rules, that's fine. Then I don't need you. I can find somebody else. You're not that important to me. And I don't want to make you move. That's not my goal. But my goal is that you have to just be well and play in the sandbox and play with others. And if you can't do that, then you can't stay. It's just that simple. And then that's why you'll find like people that have bounced around two or three places in 2 years, like that one, or 18 months. It was like 18 months in three places or something crazy like that. Like that's no good. Because here's the thing. Here's where a lot of landlords do the wrong thing. They just say, tell you what, if you just leave, I won't evict you. Dude, really? You're making your problem somebody else's problem. Don't be a dick. Don't do that. Don't do that because it's going to come back to haunt you. Don't do that. When somebody is not acting properly, hold them accountable. If everybody were held accountable for the things that they were doing wrong when they were tenants in these buildings, guess what? They would smarten up because they have a very time getting another place and then a third place and then a fourth place. That's what would happen. That's how it happens. It's absolutely how it happens. Well, for rentals, I'm trying to establish another gas line at the ADU for a gas water heater. Okay. What should I consider asking the plumber, and how much would that cost in your market? So it's really difficult to say because market has something to do with it, but distance and the type of, what has to be done there matters. And so for us, when we do anything gas line from one place to another, you're talking about what's called hard pipe. And so that has to be hard pipe that has to be 4 feet down, I think, below the frost line where we are. And so now you're not only now putting together a line, not that big a deal. Bringing a line back up through the ground, not that big of a deal. Um, trenching over 4 feet down, depending on what's in your yard, could be a big deal. The one way that I would price it out is I would get somebody to price out digging the ditch, the 4 feet, and have like a dig safe or whoever your local is. But I would have them come out, mark off where everything is. Then I would get a price quote from an excavation company or some sort of an earth moving company or a landscaper that has a mini cat. I would be asking them, hey, what would it cost you to dig up just 40 feet, 4 feet deep? They might give you a roundabout answer. They say, yeah, you know what, we priced that by the day, and so we're going to be $2,000 a day, because it might go super easy and they might find nothing but fresh dirt. It might go super hard because they might find a bunch of ledge and shit that they got to get through. So that's what kind of the difference is. So in that particular, and then I would get a number from a plumber saying, hey, if you were to show up and there was a line where all you had to do was drill through the foundation wall to get through. But again, I think that would be doing it wrong. Um, usually it is depending on your utility. They will either own to the meter, which usually is the case. They own to the meter, and then you own from the meter in. That's usually what it is. Some of them say, no, no, it's the property line. So that would be the first place I would start, is asking your utility, do you guys own the line from the street to that building? Because you don't want to do it off of your existing one. You want what's called a separate line of service, which would have a separate meter, which would mean that the gas company needs to bring it from their main to you so you can have a separate gas meter. HY Press, college enrollments are starting to drop. Yep, 18-year-olds are starting to enter the trades rather than get over 100K of debt, and I'm able to get a job. Good. I'd like to see that happen for 10 years straight, because we need 10 years of people that were more than happy to sit on their ass in a white-collar job and add zero value to actually doing something with their hands, and quite frankly, getting a job that they will never be sorry that they had. Electrician, plumber, whatever. Mostly electrician and plumber. Or Jack Landlord in the house. Larry Bird. For 3. Is it easy to replace a dryer, lock, or larch? Easy. Have you replaced a dryer latch? Yep. Or lock? Yep. Yeah. Yep. It's not hard. It's usually a component. Sometimes they have power going to them. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're mechanical. Sometimes they're electrical. It really depends on the maker, but largely speaking, you can look up almost any brand online and you can swap that out. Kid City. I'm sorry. Did I miss why rents are going down? Nope. I'm happy to tell you. So why rents are going to go down is because there is going to be a jobs issue. And there are going to be, aside from all the supply that continues to come onto the market, and it's all new supply, there will continue to be markets that will go down. Arizona, there, you can look it up. There are plenty of areas around the country where rents are going down. Now, not all, not half, not 25%, but there's single digit percentages of areas where rents are going down. Most of the rents are going down in A-class properties because people don't want to spend $2,700 in my area to live in a 2-bedroom apartment. And that's what 2 beds in my area cost. Unless you come to a landlord like me who doesn't have a doorman, who actually has parking on site, you only have 3 other tenants in the building as opposed to 300. And so for them, they say, yeah, you know what? I'd rather live for 21 or 22 as opposed to 27. So what's going to happen? Do rents necessarily go down? Yeah, they do. I saw major landlords offering 14-month leases at the rate of $2,500 per month, but they only had to pay for 12 months. Does that mean rent went down? Yeah, it does. It's exactly what it means. It means rent down because you're getting 14 months worth of rent for 12 months worth of rent payments. So yeah, it went down. So that's why rents are going to go down. You're going to see more joblessness. You're going to see more supply. You're going to see people staying put because other landlords were smart like Dion and they did the binder strategy and they weren't trying to get every last nickel and trying to constantly raise. Like we have a couple of people that moved jobs. They couldn't get a job with what their expertise was in, so they moved. So those units rents will always go down in the wintertime. We have 4 real seasons where I live, and it sucks to rent a place in November, December. We're trying to do it right now. Thankfully, we rented 2 out of the 4, but we still have 2 units available, and they are going as quickly as they can. But that's kind of it. Is that semen on your shirt collar? Bull monkey? That's silly. Yeah, it's your mom's. She identifies. Yeah, it's one of those things. But that's cool. Silly. Lakshmi. Hi. Hi, Lakshmi. Rowan Nicholas. Hi, Rowan. Hi, Lumberjack. My new tenant's already getting behind. Oh, trying to work with them before going through an eviction. I'm sorry to hear that. That sucks. Yeah, that sucks. Hey, Dion. Good to see you, buddy. I've loved watching your videos in Thailand. Looks awesome. Yeah, I mean, you do try and work through it with them. However, the thing that I would tell you is you do need to serve paperwork. You need to serve paperwork in those first 10 days. The reason why you serve that paperwork and you tell them, you let them know, hey, just so you know, paperwork is coming. But the reason I'm doing that is because the easiest way for you to get assistance is to provide them with your eviction paperwork. You don't want to get behind. You don't want to waste an entire month trying to help them realize that they're not going to fish. You got to post paper, my man. You got to post paper. And work with them. Let them know that it's coming. Let them know what that it is. And let them know why you did it. Let them know all those things. HOA Press. I was invited to a couple of quantum computing seminars. You are going to see massive scientific advances in the next 25 years. I think people are going to be blown away at the advances they see in the next 5. 25 is going to be insane, but 5, it's going to be 5. You're going to see a ton of changes. NBC. Well, maybe my company is just that exception. 2,500 plus jobs listing for India. Yeah, sure. How many are they filling? Like jobs listing is nothing. In fact, that's been well documented. That's one of the biggest cases of fraud is people that are listing jobs that aren't being hired. Tell me how many people they hired in the last month. That's the thing you need to be looking at, not the number of listings that they have. There's a lot of companies that do that. And so NPC, maybe you're not familiar, but there's a lot, and I'm not being condescending. I'm just, maybe you're not familiar. There are a lot of people and a lot of companies that will post massive job openings to give the view to the market that they are growing and that they are growing gangbusters and that they are absolutely psyching up for demand. There's absolutely those people. The other thing too is that just because there are 2,500 listed, I mean, again, are there headhunters? Are there enough of them out there that are hunting to fill those jobs? Like I said, look at how many are hired, not look at how many jobs are posted. That's one of the biggest fallacies in the success of business is how many job postings are out there. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it largely doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just not a thing. And the other thing too is they very easily could be offshoring a bunch of that and ready to fire a bunch of people in the States. That's absolutely a thing. What they typically believe is that they need, that they might need 5 people in India for every 1 person in the US, but the 5 people in India that were pretty skilled cost them about $55,000 US, while the US person cost them 120. So they might even up that number and just say, yeah, we want to move all of our development over to India. I've actually seen that. I've been a part of that probably 4 or 5 times where I saw people literally move teams of 100 or 200 technical people to 500 technical people in India. Seen it happen. And all the people in the US weren't thinking. They were just like, oh, look how fast we're expanding. Guess what happened? They got those people up to speed a year later. The US force was half the size, maybe even 25% the size. Yeah, it wasn't even close. So yeah, I've seen it, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Work with a bunch of executives, Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, Fortune 2000, hedge funds. Yeah, I work with a lot of those execs. Is there a number when you start considering a CPA, or just yes, as early as you can afford it, assuming you're cash flowing? So, Ivan, the reason why I use a CPA early and often, so I had a CP, that was one of the things I had in the very, very beginning. And it's a great question. The reason that I want to make sure that I have a CPA in place is because they can almost always use a strategy or use strategies that I might not be familiar with that are going to more than cover their costs. So I strongly recommend searching for a CPA, finding one that hits my criteria, which is has rental properties themselves, has other tenant or other clients with rental properties. Those are the perfect CPAs, but I would absolutely be looking at CPAs that because in all likelihood they can save you more than you're spending on them. Yeah, almost always. Do you know the schedule for the Orat celebration? Is it 8 to 6 both days? I don't, Ivan. I believe so. I believe so. I think it's no. I think it might be no. I think the first day. I think it's 8 to 8. I think it's 8 to 8. It was last year. Last year was 8 to 8, and then 8 to 6. It's a long weekend. It's a long weekend. I don't come in the day before and I don't leave the day after. I'm usually exhausted by the time we finish. It's great, but I'm exhausted. Yeah. Let's see. Crap. Just trying to. Why won't this move? Oh, there we go. Mick, the water heater needs venting. Yes. Was that a question I missed? Sorry. Yeah, water heaters. Well, gas water heaters need venting. Electric ones don't. Yep, electrics don't. Only gas does. You're so good. Arlen and Jord are here. We're loving what you're saying. How old are you and how do you know so much? 50, almost 50. How do I know so much? I've done it for 20 something years. We're going to pretend it's not sarcasm. Jordan, maybe you learned something, but I doubt it. My insurance hasn't gone up that much thanks to higher deductibles. Yep. Other landlords that don't watch you and the other amigos are truly hurting. I don't know about other amigos. I think that there's, certainly people that are lower margin. But again, if I'm in Mike's shoes, like let's say Zuber, if I'm in Zuber's shoes, there's a chance of an earthquake there, pretty high, right? I mean, it's been a long time, but I mean, every year that passes, it's likely a higher likelihood. So for him, if he had his, 35 or whatever single family homes all get hit by an earthquake, and he'd have to come up with 25,000 bucks times, call it 40, he's looking at $1 million out of pocket. But then how many years is it going to take for those to get rebuilt? So the other big piece of that is rental, rental insurance, actually getting reimbursed for the rent. So for me, it's just one of those things where I look at it, and that's been part of the thing that's allowed us to grow. And so for me, yeah, I would rather have a $25,000 deductible and pay, $1,300 a year than have a $2,000 deductible and pay $3,600 a year. That's just me. Yeah. Arlen and Yord. Yeah. Oh, loves it. Perf. Year one. This person. Jack Black and Emperor. Oh, sweet heavens. Well, see how easy this is? Hey, Jord. Find better things to do. Men and investors and women are working here. Go away. Andrew Kahn. FANG companies are still laying off. Absolutely. They're going to continue to lay off. Buzz too. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Golly, that's inconvenient. Hit that like button like Gretzky hitting a touchdown in the 10th inning. Oh, sweet Lord, Burdick. You're killing me. Oh, you're killing me. YouTube likes to add the random numbers. Yeah, true story. Lumberjack, duplex with a shared driveway and add a second driveway to separate the tenants. Duplex with a shared driveway. Yeah, I don't necessarily mind them. Depends on what price you can get. Because the problem is that's probably a capital improvement you're not going to see a whole lot of return on. So I do have tenants that have a shared driveway. If it's a single lane driveway, then absolutely add the driveway. But if it's dual lane, then I let them park tandem, one in front of the other, and to side by side. then that's completely on. That's completely on. Yeah, I would leave it like that. I was thinking, yes, renting in the holidays is slow. Yeah, thankfully, one of my renters is moving on the new year. Very good. Josh, my brother and I are cracking up. That's awesome. Lumberjack Landlord, when do you do the full screen lives? You get more trolls. Yeah, it's true. I don't mind though. That's fine. Happy to kick him to the wayside. No big deal. No big deal. Buzztune, you talked with Zuber about only repairing the roof and then replace in a couple of years when contractors will be better priced. Can you talk more about that and how you knew to time that? Perfect. Yeah, perfect. So when it's really just looking at the cost of materials. And so when we were in COVID, as an example, my good buddy Simon, uneducated economist, Hyder knows him well. He was saying that, hey, the reason why, lumber went from 400 per thousand board feet to 1600 per thousand board feet is because of a choke in the supply system, right? Or a lot more demand and a lot less supply. That's because it was choking. So for me, for example, I did very little massive capital improvement during COVID. Very, very little. That was on purpose. It was because all the prices were so unbelievably inflated. Now, could they have stayed that way forever? Sure, possible. But my better bet was to make a repair, have it last a couple of years, even make it a year, and then make another year. Even if I'm doing that, and let's say 2 years from now, the prices are exactly the same or even slightly more, doesn't matter if I had the time to save up, right? The best thing is that very often when you see pricing go hyperbolic like that, it puts you in a position where you can then say, it's not that it's going to drop back to where it was, but it might drop back to where it was plus 20%, which is still 50% or 60% better than where I am today. So if for that particular example, it's about buying time. So it's not having a crystal ball saying everything's going to go down. It's much more having an understanding that things like that, commoditized pricing, roofing shingles or lumber or any of those types of things, recognize that there are peaks and valleys to that. And then recognize that right now I have my guy who was like, yeah, sure, I can get over there Tuesday. I was like, excuse me, what? He's like, yeah, I can get there Tuesday. This was last week talking about this Tuesday. Guess what didn't happen during COVID? I was 3 weeks, I was 4 weeks, I was 6 weeks, I was 8 weeks out. Well, now they're ready for the business. And so it's allowed me to take 2 or 3 roofs that I had repaired, and now it's allowed me to replace them because the pricing is back from being hyperbolic and now is much more reasonable. So that's where it's like if I kick it down so the long answer shorter is if I kick it down the path 2 years and I made the repair and it was $1,000 repair, and it was a $12,000 replace, well, then I've still kicked it down the road 1 or 2 years, and cost of money giving me the ability to save up, clear up some credit, knowing that I have to replace it. That's going to be a priority one. Then the funding can go to replace that. Yeah, that's the way I think of it. Martin Properties going for the gold and running. Do it to it. Ivan, I'm an analytics major and supply chain management experience following Mr. Dion's advice and trying to bridge the truck driving industry and IT analytics. What do you think? Yeah, I think if he made that advice, I think that that's pretty sound advice. I think the challenging part that you're going to have is from an analytics perspective, AI is far better at analytics than most people are. It's just once the companies get smart enough on how to run those analytics. Now, the issue is that there's going to be that one bright bulb in the list of 10 analysts. And the one super bright bulb is going to understand exactly how AI talks. Why? Because they probably talk like that all the time. And so what are they going to do? They're going to be the masters of being able to ask AI exactly what analysts used to crunch. So that's where I'm not down on people that are analysts. I'm down on the job of analyzing because I think that AI is going to be able to do it a whole lot faster. On my team, we had 0 people in India 3 years ago. Now 10, lost 7 in US, Canada in the last 3. Clear offshoring. Yeah, but it's such a minor scale, though. I mean, you can argue it all you want. The fact of the matter is that they're absolutely, you look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Your company doesn't matter. One company never matters. I don't care if you're working for the biggest company. I don't care if you're working for Berkshire or Oracle or FANG, or it doesn't matter. If you're any of those, it still doesn't matter. Look at the number of jobs that are being lost in those positions. And there's not this massive uptick in offshoring. Just factually isn't there. And how do I know this? I actually talk with 2 of the largest offshoring companies in the world. And one of them is in Bangalore, India. And I can tell you that they're not seeing this massive explosive growth. Oh my gosh, we're up 10 or 15%. They're not seeing that at all. Not seeing that at all. They're actually getting plenty of non-renews. And that's some of the areas where people are dropping, where some of them are dropping a headcount. Oh, this is Robert, by the way. I just realized it's using my username instead of my real name. See, I would disagree with you either way. It's okay. And IBM, I'm sure, is onshoring, but the problem is the amount that they're offshoring is absolutely getting killed by the number of other companies that are. I mean, all due respect to IBM, like they're not in any of the conversations anymore of top 50 companies. They just aren't. And maybe they'll turn the tide, but they just haven't yet. Hopefully, they will. NPC. Nice. I thought that was, I was like, NPC. Thought I'd seen that before. HOA Press. Americans, as a condition of receiving their severance, working together, training their Indian replacements to improve corporate profits by exporting jobs to India. I think that certainly is part of it, sure. But again, if that were the case, then you would see all over the news that 10, 20%. Guys, in case you haven't seen this before, the press hates Donald Trump. And they would love to stick a feather in their cap and talk about, well, he's talking about American exceptionalism. They can't wait to hire more people overseas. It's just not happening in these big, huge dells. Like, hold on one second. Yeah, so Gartner, the foremost authority. Yeah, so here it says right here. US based employers expanded employment abroad faster than domestically for the past 7 years. But that's not any spike. That's the trend that continues to happen. And then so it says, where's what I'm looking for? Yeah, Trump even told them no more hiring overseas. Trump told Google and Microsoft to stop hiring overseas. Let's see what else we got here. Show me a question. Datadog. I'm researching some hang adjacent companies like Datadog and Sakar Snowflake. I've noticed they've open roles for senior staff positions. Yeah, that's one of the things I was telling you guys about. So they're hiring the higher end guys here, and then they're bringing. And the problem is then managing those overseas. Oh, that blows. So I actually saw it all the time in my line of business where they actually had a U.S. manager, and then they had 10 overseas people. Those people, those Americans, did not last in those jobs. They couldn't. They couldn't last in those jobs because they couldn't control the outcomes. Well, for rentals, I replaced the microwave for a tenant today. It was a new one and has been there for only 4 years old. What's the reasonable microwave life? Depends on the brand. Depends on the brand. So you're not going to offend me. Good. I know. I see. Well, now I know who it is. Now I know I can't offend you. HP is exporting jobs from India to Vietnam to reduce costs. Yep, that certainly is the case. Jobs will always, some of those jobs when they can create that skilled labor. And that's the thing is, for the longest time, India was it when it was like $4,000 a person. But in some cases it's 11, and some it's 14, and some it's 20. So now they know that they can do exactly what they did in India, and they can put those people over in. They can do the same thing for those people over in Vietnam. Same thing. Uh, Tell me my phone doesn't tell me my phone's not listening. Like, come on, it's absolutely listening. Are they building huge complexes in your area too? Yeah, sure. Yeah, kid. So 156 units was just built. 88's being built. Then some smaller ones, a 48, a 44, a big one that's 440. And you got to remember the size towns, like in perspective. Like here's the size of the town. Like one of those towns, the one that's got 440, 88, 46, 44. What else is going up there? Oh, another 80. And that big one that's like over 400. That's in a town of 30,000 people. That's a massive. Or event should be on a weekend other than Valentine's Day, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't get a say. I don't get a say. Lumberjack duplex driveway is old gravel with weeds. Leave as is or pave with asphalt. So you can do something different. You can use something called hard pack. Talk to a paving company about something called hard pack. It's basically you can put it down. You can put down like a leaf blocker or like a weed blocker underneath it, and then you can just easily spray the stuff, and you can be okay. Bobby Ray, hi, how you been? Good, Bobby Ray. Re-sign my tenants for a third year with a 5% increase. Josh, I love that. That is so good. Congratulations, man. Does a gas tankless water? Yes. Installed in an addition need ventilation? Yes. Where exactly put a duct to ventilate it? So the specs will be on the duct. They'll be on it, and it will say how it needs to be. Some are direct vent. Some can be 6 feet. Some can be 12 feet. But the specs are on the unit, because that's all combustion and then how they account for it. So you have to make sure you're knowing exactly what the unit calls for. I am simply NPC 23453 out of 8 billion. Mick. That's most tankless are gas. Yep, it needs venting and fresh air inlet, both required to breathe. Yes, sir. That's exactly right. We did an electric tankless one time. Ugh, wouldn't do it again. Very expensive, but we couldn't. Yeah, we couldn't get it. We couldn't get it powered up any other way. Sadly. Also, for an attic, get a plumber. Don't burn down your property. Yes. Express, we have lots of new apartments in Silicon Valley, but the rents are too high, so the units are vacant. I expect that to continue the trend. American software engineer, $50 an hour. Vietnam software engineer, $50 a week. I don't. It's not that low. It's not that low. But I get the comparison. Yep, I get the comparison, but it's not that low for Vietnam. Not when we were working with teams in Vietnam. That was like 2-3 years ago. It wasn't that low. It was what was it? Like so it was like 760, like $500 to $600 a week. Yeah, but it beats 2,000 a week. So it wasn't it wasn't that disparate. Kevin, hello, Kevin. It's just saying what I'm seeing from my role. Yep, AI doesn't give me a significant productivity boost and see offshoring on my team. Yep. Based on what I see, they want to get rid of everyone in Ottawa soon. Yeah, everybody wants to get rid of Canadian employees. It's because, and it's the same thing with, Canadian companies. They want to get rid of American employees. They largely do. Because here they have to pay for our healthcare. There they don't. And it's a massive pain in the ass for them to file taxes and everything else. Is that everything? Yes, it is. Mick, thank you. Cool. Guys, we're going to do a little bit early tonight. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with me. I'm hanging out in Nashville with family. There will be a boot camp this Saturday. There absolutely will be. As you see, now I'm set up. I've got access. I got internet access. I'm ready to go. But guys, have an absolutely fantastic rest of your week. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. Again, thanks for coming and hanging out. And yeah, we'll see you next time. See you guys. Bye, guys.